So now trauma comes from a Greek word which means a wound. So a wound, you can wound yourself. You can step on your nail, you can wound yourself, cut yourself with a knife. It will be a wound. So now when we look at trauma, we are looking at invisible wounds. Your body can experience trauma through an accident. And that's why you find that a person that has been severely injured, there are some parts of the body that may either experience a continuous experience like electricity is flowing or some kind of numbness because the body has been traumatized and shocked. Are we together so far? Now, what you see on the outside can be on the inside. In our times, during immunization, we would have an injection. And then after that, we had a scar. Up to now, I still have a scar. So those who do not have scars, I know you were born after, in the 80s. Are we together? Because there is trauma that remained. If you have injured yourself, there is a scar. It's a sign that your body was traumatized somewhere. Now, those scars, they appear on your body or in your flesh, but it is the same in your spirit. It is the same in your heart. It is the same in your mind. So when you look at trauma, you are looking at a wound. In other words, the person has been wounded. Their mind has been wounded. Their heart has been wounded. Their soul has been wounded. You can't see it, but somewhere they are bleeding on the inside. These wounds come from deeply distressing events. Distressing, things that distress, things that put people under pressure, things that confuse people. They cause trauma in a person's life. Sometimes it comes from emotional shock. Like in your category, I'm sure it's getting in a relationship and jumping out of one. A common trauma mwakwatatefyo. I know for some of you that is a common trauma. Huh? Now he is seeing somebody else. Can you imagine after I bought him a shirt? I'm so traumatized I can't think in class. There is emotional shock. That can be an example of trauma. Are we together? Now, this kind of trauma can cause long-term effects on a person's life. They perceive life from their pain. So this pain can be a root of misery, a root of sorrow. A person that is traumatized will normally have pain locked up inside. And when pain is locked up inside, there may be a sorrowness or sadness around the person. Even when things are supposed to be nice, they just seem to withdraw themselves, lock themselves, and cry themselves to bed. Are we together? Trauma also comes from torture. Torture can be from words. Torture can be from experiences. Torture can be from your friends. Torture can be from your parents. Torture can be in the workplace. Are we together? In other words, your mind is being wounded or subjected to psychological pain until somebody begins to break down. So sometimes you just find a person is traumatized by the friends at school. They just don't feel like going to school anymore. Now today I go to school, no, I don't feel like going to school. What's the problem? Is it a lecturer? No, it's not a lecturer. I don't just like the school anymore. It's not that they don't like the school. There is some kind of torture going on in a person's life. Sometimes people don't come to church because there is torture going on because of an experience outside. Sometimes that experience is in the home. Sometimes it is with your guardian. Sometimes it is with your parents, relatives, brothers, cousins. It can come from anywhere. Are we together so far? This trauma can result in anxiety and sometimes in nightmares. This is why sometimes a person will say, I always dream things are chasing me. Perhaps there is nobody chasing you, but it is the fear that is locked up inside that begins to appear as monsters. Sometimes they are demons, but sometimes it is just pain that is locked up inside. Are we together so far? Let's give an example. If you go to 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 5. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 5. It's a common verse that you know. Panombana mkulakula berenga Bible. So this is a woman. She was married in this family where the man had 2 wives. So already it tells you that don't have 2 wives. Stephen. And all the brothers said what? Just one person said amen. Okay, so verse 5. So this woman was married. In verse 5 it says, but to Hannah he gave a double portion, for he loved her, although the Lord had closed her womb. Her rival also provoked her severely to make her miserable, because the Lord had closed her womb. So here we see an example of this woman. She's married, she's in this family. There are 2 wives. The other one has a lot of sons. She has no sons, no children. And because of that, she's traumatized. She is mocked. Words are injuring her. Are we together? Sometimes people say that words are nothing, but words are things. Words are weapons. Words can humiliate. So this woman was humiliated to such an extent that even when the time of going to the house of the Lord came, it's not like you want to be with everybody else. So when you read this story, you find a place where she is in the temple praying, and the high priest thinks she is drunk. The question is, where was the husband and where was Penina in that story? Meaning that she had withdrawn herself. She didn't want to be with everybody, but she still wanted to be with God. And she was praying so quietly that the priest thought she was drunk. It was the brokenness that was inside. Are we together? Sometimes there is that brokenness that is on the inside that somebody cannot express themselves, even when there is an opportunity to express themselves. Tonight, our prayer is that the Lord will help us, the Lord will bring healing in us, and the Lord will set us free to be who we are. Now, when you look at trauma, normally it affects the identity of a person. People are normally traumatized because they feel their identity has been crushed. Their personality has been crushed. So we look at Hannah, for example. She's expecting, I'm getting married, I'll be a mother soon. And what she's looking forward to does not manifest. She is seeing this other one fulfilling her destiny, and for her, nothing seems to be happening. And so she begins to see herself in a person way. Are we together? Now, where there is trauma, usually there will be anxiety. There will be fears. There will be panic. Sometimes people are afraid of things that they should not be afraid of. They are not free to be among others. Because if you are among the other mothers, then you see their success and you feel challenged. Sometimes people are traumatized by the pain of failing just grade school. Are we together? Things don't go the way you wanted them to go at school. And because of that, a person can be so wounded that they start thinking that life is not worth living. But life is so much more than grades. Are we together? We are not talented the same. We are not what? Talented the same. You can pass in physics and fail in English. I'll pass in English. We are not all the same. My value is not determined by that. And sometimes in life you just have to say, I'm not good at this, what am I good at? And your life keeps moving. Because if you keep comparing yourself, pain will be locked in you until you cannot move forward. So what are some of the manifestations of trauma? A person may have obsessions. Obsession, a person is obsessed with eating. For example, they want to finish a big lump of unshim. When they finish it, they still want another one. And you think that the person is hungry. Because they are not hungry, they are massaging the pain that is inside. Are we together so far? Sometimes you are watching movies. We ask you what is in this movie. You don't know, but you are sitting in front of the TV. All you are doing is to massage the pain that is on the inside. Sometimes it is talking too much. You don't want to listen. You want to be talking because by talking you feel I am releasing pressure inside. A person may be obsessed. Can be obsessed with fashion. Not because you need it, but just because you feel it is solving an inner problem on the inside. Are we together? Sometimes it is compulsive behavior. Doing things not because you need to, but because you have to. Sometimes people want to keep appearances with others. They also want to be stars. And so to hide the pain inside, I can also enjoy life. That's compulsive behavior. Compelled to do something. Not because you have to, but you are trying to address pain that is on the inside. Are we together? You go on a date, not because you want to date, but you need to tell your friends that I also went on a compulsive behavior. Compulsive behavior can destroy. Are we together? You can be destroyed. That's how some people's lives have been destroyed. In trying to massage something inside and keep up the numbers, they go with people who are used. Why? Because you are compelled to do things that you don't really have to. And then also we see that when this pain happens, when a person is traumatized, sometimes they stop feeling the pain inside. There is what is called numbing the pain. Are we together? I'll give you an example. If somebody experiences a very severe accident, very bad one, very severe injury, you'll be screaming, screaming, screaming. But if it is something bigger than that, you find umuntu naikala. And you're thinking, this person has a broken leg, and they seem to be calm. It's not that they are calm, they are calm because the body has shut down that part. They can no longer feel the pain. Are we together? So you think he's okay, but he's not. Sometimes that's what trauma does. It numbs the pain that is locked up inside, and people start acting out life. Even though they are wounded, they don't allow the healing, but they start acting as if they're. Are we together? So when you talk about that compulsive behavior, you see that people are dating. Why are you dating? I'm dating this one because he hates me. So I'm dating this one to revenge on this one. Yes, sometimes people hate another person so that they can feel how they felt when they were hate. You are trying to numb the pain. It is not going to go away. Are we together? Those are some of the behaviors that are there. Sometimes when people go through different traumas by different reasons, they may go into depression. They do not feel like living anymore. Everything is sad around themselves. Sometimes a person going into depression can be a sign that they've been wounded severely by something. And when you ask them, is there a problem? They'll say no. Is there anything troubling the mind? No. But there is something that is eating them up, and they are beginning to withdraw. When a person begins to withdraw, or you begin to withdraw from your normal circles, normal life, there is something that is broken inside. You don't anymore want to sing. You don't want to be in fellowship. You don't want to talk to your friend. You no longer laugh at the same jokes that you laugh with. You are quietly withdrawing. There is something that is going on the inside. There is pain that has happened, and because of that pain, a person is going into a depression. Are we together? Why do we talk about trauma? It's important because it can lead to mental breakdown. It can lead to what? Mental breakdown. What is mental breakdown? It means your mind is no longer processing things in a rational way, in a normal way, or in the way that things should be. For example, if you look at the last 2 years and you looked at social medias, you saw that there were a lot of stories of suicide, especially among the youths. Are we together? And why, if you look at the stories, the reason given was he killed the girlfriend because she dumped him. He killed the girlfriend because she was talking to a man. Or she poured hot water on him because he said he's going to leave her. The mind is no longer thinking properly. That's not a rational way of behaving. It is not rational. Ngaranda tifyapwa kuronga waya. Sharp. Dimokuranda kona thank you Limbi Wampuzu Shafi. I don't know what you have saved me from. It's a truth. Sometimes your disappointment is your appointment. There is nothing wrong with you. Are we together? When you look at mental breakdown, let's look at Job chapter 1. We just see Job's wife. We appreciate the scriptures so that we are balancing. Otherwise, you think I came here to discuss psychology. Job chapter 1. We know the story in Job. In verse 9. Let's start from verse 9 just there. So Satan answered the Lord and said, does Job fear you for nothing? Have you not made a hedge around him, around his household, around all he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased. But stretch forth your hand and touch all that he has, and he will surely curse you to the face. And the Lord said to Satan, behold, all he has is yours. Now we can see that Satan went and destroyed everything that Job had. Are we together so far? You're still following me? Let's go to chapter 2, verse 9, since we don't want to read everything. In chapter 2, verse 9, this is the wife speaking after seeing the suffering. Then his wife said to him, do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die. But he said to her, you speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God and shall not accept adversity? In all this, Job did not sin. So it's easy to look at that passage and just look at Job's wife as one of those issues. But I want you to see, she has these 7 children. Are we together? You are still with me? 7 children die, not one after the other. Not one per year. One day, 1 week, they are all gone. Are we together? While she's trying to process that, she just hears that Yonsama company all the companies are gone. Actually, even the bank where you put your money, it has collapsed. It has been closed by Bank of Zambia. Are we together so far? When you look at everything you have, they report and say everything is gone. The 2 of you, 1, 2. That is what is left about you. And then a few days later, the husband is sick. He has boils over. In our time, when you see that, you are saying immunity is gone. Tending towards death. So she has lost children. She has lost businesses. She's now about to lose the husband. And when she looks at it, she says, curse God and what? Because she knows those who curse God will die. And Job says that you are talking like a foolish person. So now when you look at her, why does he say that? Because she's not processing things properly. The mind is traumatized. She's thinking of the firstborn. She's thinking of the lastborn. She's thinking of the friends. She's thinking of the empires that have gone. She's thinking of the husband. She's about to remain alone. And in her mind, she says, there's no need to even continue living. And Job says that, no, we shouldn't speak like this. In other words, her language was coming from a broken spirit. And sometimes people speak out of a broken what? Spirit. One disappointment in our life. Don't kill yourself. Just wait for 1 week, na arise. There is still more to make you happy in life. Are we together? There is more to life than one boyfriend. There is more to life than what? One fiancé. Even if I surrender no much, pick up your rings, Take them back to the shop and go. So here we see an example of a broken spirit. She was not speaking properly. And sometimes a person that is traumatized, their analysis of things is not good. Wapona kosi monde fileka. I'm not going back to university. I'm not going back to college. Why? I failed one course. Why don't you repeat? No. But I am Bonashan. Who cares what you look like? It is your life. Are we together? It is your life. You push, and you make it again. Sometimes the failure comes in business. It fails. You have just learned one way of how not to practice business. That's what Sir Edison said. He tried bulbs 100 times. He failed. Number 100, he succeeded. And he says, I learned 100 ways of how not to make a bulb. I learned 100 ways of how not to date. I learned 100 ways of who not to date. Eh? You must have a reference point. That one was too demanding. That one was not laughing. Beware of those guys. Iwenga to opana ukava housewife. Apopene kwamboko ya. You are preparing for trauma. Just pack and leave. There is more to life than what? Then are we together? It is so good. So now when you look at trauma, it has a very negative effect on people's lives. Are we together so far? When you look at Genesis 35, I'll tell you the story. Genesis 35, verse 16 to 28, is the story of Jacob. Jacob was on a journey going back to the place of settlement after leaving the place where he had dwelt for many years. On the journey, remember Rachel, his wife, took a long time to bear children. She had Joseph, and when Benjamin is about to be born, in the process of delivery, she dies. Are we together so far? She dies. This is his favorite wife. After the birth of Benjamin, Reuben was thinking that my mother will now become my father's favorite wife because they were two. Are we together so far? But instead of getting Leah to become the best wife to Jacob, Jacob opted to get Bilhah, who was the maid to Rachel, the assistant. And so what Reuben saw really annoyed him because he thought my mother has been second class for too long. So he decided to go and sleep with his father's concubine. Are we together so far? Let pretend what now papa. So then Jacob heard about it. But remember, Jacob is going through mourning. He's mourning his wife. And now the one who is supposed to be his next wife, the firstborn son, has defiled the wife. And the man has nothing to say. That's what I said when I said trauma sometimes has a numbing effect. He just sees and he begins to watch. And he keeps that record for a long time. That was the end of Bilhah bearing children because Reuben had defiled her. And he kept it. My son has slept with my wife. He kept it for over 20 years. Remember that when Joseph is taken into Egypt, or he goes to Egypt, it's about 20 years later that he sees him. Are we together? If you add up the years, it's almost 25. Now, when Jacob is about to die, that's when he says, gather my sons. Come and sit here with me. I'll tell you what you shall be. And that's when Jacob says, Reuben, my firstborn, you shall not what? Excel. because you went up to your father's bed and defiled it. In other words, he was bitter for 20 years. That's what trauma does. It keeps pain in a person for a long time. He was not talking about it. You think he had recovered, but he had not recovered. Time does not heal these things. Time just covers these things unless they are attended to. Are we together? And so on the final day of his death, that's when he tells Reuben, "Chirina alifulwa." Nangu yatu alese katuleli abonso uwali chirina alifulwa because of what happened. I acted like I was not angry, but today I must tell it. Many people are traumatized by things that have happened, and in that trauma, it has formed a stronghold of bitterness, a stronghold of anger. Sometimes people are angry and you don't know why they are angry. Sometimes you throw tantrums and you don't know why you throw tantrums. Muntu aisa joking akufe akalusapatu akamufwere nishita mwaile shita kwa kamubata. Apope ne tempa ya. You are not angry because of the joke. You are angry because of something else that has to do with locked up pain on the inside. And so you find that this pain can destroy a person's life. This pain can destroy friendships. This pain can destroy marriages, especially if you are dating. Muntu abafyo wa furwa lionse mu dating. Mwaranda pali ring na furwa, waranda pali wedding dress na furwa, musalera ina pu na furwa. Nifinshe fyo wa furwa kanshi mchalo. Locked up pain is dangerous to keep. It forms a stronghold around you. And inside that stronghold may now form a strong man. Sango muntu alikwata penomba demon of anger. Demon of bitterness. Why? Because it is fortified. Trauma is dangerous to keep. Are we together so far? So you see that when he spoke to Reuben, he was really cursing Reuben. And that is how a person who keeps deep-seated pain inside are. Sometimes they will never see anything good in their friends. They will always see something negative. You are attending a wedding, abantu balese kayole muna mufita pali nefiwe mune nefo kale moneka. Mune nika hairstyle. Mune nyutu sapato, mune nika ring. Because there is pain on the inside. You never appreciate because you are speaking from the point of pain. Are we together so far? When you keep pain inside, it can eventually begin to make you sick. Let's go to the next thing about trauma that it can cause, because we have said events, not one event, events. Let's go to Isaiah 61. In Isaiah 61, verse 7, that's a scripture we normally read for deliverance, but in verse 7 it says, "Instead of your shame, you shall have double honor." Sometimes when things go wrong in a person's life, twashanda pali identity, the place that is really broken is their identity. And because of that broken identity, sometimes people carry shame. I'll give the example you like. No, he dumped me. I'm not good enough. Am I beautiful enough? What is wrong with your ears? It's the identity that is broken. But beyond the identity, it is the pride. In a man, it is the pride. Take your feeling. When he has proposed and is feeling good, and this person goes, the ego is wounded. And now he can't tell his friends, that person I was dating is gone. So you have now shame has come in. Sometimes shame comes from places beyond that. Turande koyambia places. So you are combining trauma, pain. Sometimes people are ashamed of where they come from. David says, "In pain my mother what? Conceived me." Jabez prayed to the Lord and said, "Deliver me from pain." There was something wrong that was happening in his life that caused him to be full of this pain, that it was affecting his life. When you look at David, When Samuel goes to anoint the kings, he says, go and bring your sons. Valeta 7. Enabamu shapo. Dilabakana chitapali then, okay, kulikamwa kali mumpanga kakale 10. And finally he comes. Meaning that in that family there is something wrong with the way they view David. Maybe the father is ashamed of him. How do you bring all your sons? You bring 7. 8 minus 1. You are ashamed. Maybe touch grade 7. You are ashamed. Hey, let's be real. Because those are the things that happen. That's why I always tell people, we are not all the same. We are not what? We do not have the same talents. Some people's talent in Michael Jackson, they sang and made millions. Wale Kwatama A+ was employed by Michael Jackson. That is the reality. We are not all the same. We must acknowledge that. I'm not encouraging laziness. I'm just telling you we are not what? And God provides differently. So now what shame does, it breaks down a person on the inside. Shame takes away your confidence. So some of this pain from disappointments, from growing up, from relationships, it transforms into shame. So you find that a person has been through 4 relationships, broken. Now it becomes shame. No longer proud of yourself. There is no need. There is no need. But now there is no need. There is no need in the fear we know. I'm just okay. It's not that you are okay. There is a problem inside. She's shame. Are we together? The problem is shame in one place can transfer to other places. Because your confidence gone in one place can take it away in other places. A person who just got married per weekend, come for interviews, it's dying interviewing. The guy is booming with confidence, just answering all the questions correct. Because he's booming with confidence. But now come to this person who was dumped on the weekend and he goes for interviews on Monday. He arrives looking down and he's not sure whether he can make it on this interview. You have come for this job. You have come for this interview. Yes, they told me to come. But in what did they apply? Confidence is gone. Are we together? Shame is bad because some people don't serve in church because they carry shame. Shame can come from experiences. My father was not there. It's not your fault. It's not what? I couldn't just get into the youth camp. It is not your what? That can be a cause of shame. I know because I've done a lot of counseling with people. Person can be looking down because Batatanga Baisarion say he comes this. I have to open the door and make sure he doesn't sleep in the flowers. You are not the one. You are still not the one. You are not the one who is getting drunk. He has made choices. He has made decisions. And some of those things are so traumatic in the life of a child that their performance is affected. I remember talking to a child one time, and the father said so many things, then we just decided to say, okay, so now we just wanted to know, you're a very good young man. Why is it that you are not passing in school? Why are you failing? You are all your school fees are paid, uniform, everything intact. And the only thing he said is, my parents are always fighting. Because they are always fighting, I don't feel up to it when I'm in class. So the young man is failing not because there is something wrong with him, but there is something wrong he is seeing. And those can be sources of trauma. You understand what I'm saying? So when Jabez says, deliver me from pain and enlarge my territory, means things around me are shrinking Because there is so much pain around me. And the whole thing is for you to know that you are not the cause of shame. There are things beyond you. Are we together? Sometimes young people are traumatized because they are coming from a broken home. You are not the one who broke the home. You are not the one. Are we together? One of the challenges every child has when there is war in the home, when there is Baghdad in the home, warfare, bullets are flying. Because they are so grieved and yet they love their parents so much, they begin to try to solve that problem. In their minds, they are solving. If I do this for dad, if I do this for mom, today mom will talk nicely to my father. If I do this, maybe they will be happier. Maybe I'll polish their shoes. Okay, today I'll wash their clothes. Today I'll sweep the whole yard. Today I'll make sure everything is clean. And they come back and they are still fighting. And then the child starts now experiencing a mental breakdown because the child starts to think, I am failing in my responsibilities. Are we together? In that feeling of failure, shame comes in. I am a failure. I'm not good enough. This is the story of two children in Chawama. They would see their parents fighting, quarreling. And one time, we have gone to throw ourselves in the dam so that you can have peace in this home. The parents came home, sang a note, Blue Lagoon Dam. That's found that the children are floating because they interpreted themselves as the failures. And they interpreted the failure to resolve the conflict as their fault. That's why I'm saying it is not your fault. You just arrived. Are we together? So the one saying, I want you to say it is not my fault. Use your mouth. Hey, it is not what? You need to recognize that because it is very important. Because there are many of these issues that are going on among youths. When you talk about trauma, you talk about mental breakdown, usually the issue is in the home. I have pain from the home. I am ashamed to talk of my parents in the presence of my friends. Because my friends will say, oh, we went out for lunch. They came back fighting. Heart is broken. But it is not your fault. I want you to know every person has a free will. Adam do not eat. He ate on his own. And the rest of us came as consequences of their what? So normally I tell children, I want you to remember that there is nothing you can ever do to try to reconcile your parents. Nothing. Okay, tamungu mfide ntiri chani. Mwatiriati trauma, so mambo kuba quiet. This side, I want you to say there is what? Okay, if you are not convinced, you and your boyfriend or your fiancé, you have quarreled. How much effort of your mother has managed to put back that relationship together? And when? Mwaba quiet. If your mother could not force you back into a relationship, neither can you do it. What I'm trying to tell you is that there are things that you can't control in life. So in dealing with traumas and shame, sometimes we need to realize this I cannot control. This I can control. I can control studying and improving my grades. I can control it. It's in my power. I can choose to study or watch football the whole night. It is in my power. But there are things that are not in my power. Are we together? There are subjects that are in my power because I have interests. There are some that I have to pass by force. It is in your power. But there are a lot of things that people experience, like the ones I'm saying, that you can't control. And so I want you to be confident. That's why sometimes you have to look at things and say, in life, you need to, those are reference points. You need to make up your mind. Their life shall not be my life. And begin to look up. I can see the way you are looking at me. Because shame makes you feel humiliated everywhere. Even if you are on your job, there's an injection. You are giving your defense in court. And then all of a sudden you begin to remember what you were told. Na confidence yapo kulanda tesho. Your owner, I'm asking for a recess. Tapashwana did request for recess. Apole for a recess. Mind ya kumbi. De barafe Diana, sorry. Mengo, tesho. Where is Dr. Grace? Where is she? No, patient, come and see me after 2 weeks. Katapali na postponement. Now we have a kumbi. Are we together? It reduces confidence, reduces your capacity to work, reduces your efficiency. That's why sometimes you are working with people, you are working with a person who has a lot of shame. Their output is low because the majority of their time they are thinking about themselves in a negative way. Are we together? And so when you look at the Bible, shame is one of the big things that the Bible, Christ died to take away from. In the Bible, it says they were naked and what? Not ashamed. Meaning shame is a very big thing. Why should it be the only sin to be introduced at the beginning? They were naked and not ashamed. They sinned, they became ashamed. In other words, it reduced their estimation in life. So these things, you must begin to identify them and make up your mind. I'm moving away from shame. Because in church clear, but okay, clear. I remember one time we were dealing with somebody. They were failing to breathe. They were suffocating. Hospital, all the vitals were okay. But the doctor couldn't find what the problem was. We sat with them in counseling, and we discovered that the only thing that troubled them is that they had failed something in life many years ago, and they were still feeling ashamed. But degree, but you are mourning about a failure in your life, which nobody knows. Why should you wake up? And now you are not breathing properly because that shame begins to affect your body. Are we together so far? Shame leads to humiliation. Now you are becoming more quiet, so I don't know whether you want me to continue. There are issues. Shame makes you feel unwanted. Shame makes you feel unwanted and loved. Remember, it's coming from pain. The pain that settles may also bring a cloud of shame. Sometimes it is just the pain itself that makes a person feel rejected. I'm not wanted. I'm not loved. And once you begin to speak that language, everything around you will begin to respond to what? To that language. So one disappointment in love, nobody loves me. Just one lady disappointed you. Just one. One. Just one. They don't like me in my class. One. It changes your outlook towards life. Makes your outlook negative. And so when Christ died, and he says, by his stripes we are healed. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to heal the brokenhearted. Not to cast out demons, first to heal the brokenhearted. Because that is where the trauma is. It is in the heart. It is locked up. It must be healed for any progress to come. Let's go to Psalm 139 and just see something in this verse. Talking about recovery, healing from trauma. Psalm 139 in verse 13. For you formed my inward parts, you covered me in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. and that my soul knows very well. Listen to what he is not saying. He's not saying, I praise you, but shani, he has gone beyond that one. He's now saying, I praise you, for I am wonderfully and fearfully made. This man who was wonderfully made was not invited by the Father when the anointing time came. Are we together? But he's still wonderfully made. Meaning your wonderfulness is not circumstantial. It is not dependent on the opinions of people about your life. Even if somebody says you are not nice, I'm good enough. That's why beauty is in the eyes of Shan. So uyongale ko kuchita behold umbyala chitako behold. Kunshira ko fe chance na umbyala moneka. If you're fin. If you're fin, you must come to a point where you agree with yourself that I am wonderfully made. God did not make a mistake. Whether my ears are bigger than the average, no, I am not a mistake. He made those ears and said, it is good. Whether my nose is pointed or flat, he made it and said, it is what? Whether I have a wig for hair or a natural short haircut, I am wonderfully and what? And that my soul knows very well. Meaning the healing begins with what your soul knows. The healing begins with you loving yourself. That's why Christ says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. The beginning of healing from pain is you loving yourself. It is you accepting yourself. And then it is also you acknowledging the errors in your life. Are we together? There are those errors that people make. It's not your parents. It's not your grandfather. It's not anybody. It is you alone. David, instead of coming for a camp meeting, he went on the roof and saw somebody's wife bathing. I want to go to camp meeting. And I did to Mama WhatsApp. Tukumanepa Chelston roundabout. I have a prayer point for you. Your prayer point to ala pepela kunganda. Mo bedroom. In Proverbs 5 it says, I beheld among the youths a young man who lacked sense. He went and stood by the street corner, saw a prostitute. She invited him at prayer for prayers and he came. Not knowing that it would destroy his life. When you graduate from those errors, you have to say, Ninebo na rufienye. It is not him, Ninebo. There are mistakes where it is somebody, but your decision is a contribution. A major part of healing is acknowledging your sin. That's why David says, I acknowledged my sin and I confessed my sin to you. The first part of healing is acknowledging. The things that you can control, that you didn't control, you acknowledge them. It is my error. And then also acknowledging the things that were not in your power. For example, some people have been abused throughout childhood. The problem with abuse, it creates a lot of pain and shame. That you find that the child was powerless. But when they grow up, they blame themselves. No, I could have fought, I could have defended myself, I could have done this. And all those things are just making the problem worse inside. But there is a point of acknowledging this thing. I had no control over it. Because the more you try to control the past, the more you find that you fail. And the more you fail, the more miserable you become. The things which are not your responsibility, put them in their right boxes. This one, how is this one? This one, it is me. When you differentiate, you will find an easier path to healing. Because if you don't, you will condemn yourself for being abused. Are we together? And many people live in condemnation and shame. Why can't you get married? No, I am ashamed. because of what happened when I was 5 years old. What happened? Somebody took advantage of me. In case that's what you think. I'm telling you. If they say anything, well, you are a man, how can you say that? You are a man. There are boys who have been abused and they are quiet because they were told, you are a man, you can't complain. So the guy is dying on the inside with great hatred because I can't talk about it. If I talk about it, I'll be laughed at. Are we together? So abuse is both ways. It's just that the society has hidden it. And sometimes people have that pain locked up inside. So you must be able to say, this one, it is me. Then you bring those things to the Lord. And when you bring them to the Lord, be honest enough with the Lord to ask for healing. Lord, heal my heart. Heal my spirit. And then the next thing also you do, if it concerns other people, it is to forgive. People will never say sorry. Especially Abafiash. Especially inside the number inside what is the problem with this side? Why are you quiet? Imbiaba these days bararanda sorry. If we tabare to ever go sorry abakari. Tabaranda. Kuku mafe, even when they discover you, they beat you for a wrong reason. Kwisa kwa fiat ule umfwa. Are we together? And that's why we forgive. Because usually people will never say sorry. Forgiveness is for your own heart. It is for your own good. Because bitterness kills the fool. What happens, I told you that story. That lady had issues. Stopped breathing properly. Just trauma in the heart. Sometimes people think they are sick. They are not sick. Just issues. I remember we were praying for somebody not so long ago. It was a Saturday. He came for prayers. So we are talking about trauma. He's maybe 35 going to 40 so. Married, we know. So at least you know, there are lives. So in his childhood, grade 9 or is this lower grade 7, they had a school competition. He was a very good footballer. And before the final, he injured himself. So he didn't play the final. So from grade 7, he was very bitter. This time, but the same pain in the same knee is still there. He's still limping. So we talked about it, prayed, and finally he said, I think now I know what my problem is. I have been regretting that final game that what grade 7. I was the top scorer in class, yes. We prayed, released the thing. The healing instantly came, no limping. That's how trauma is. You might be thinking, no, I have spine. So it is maybe you are just angry with things. A lot of times people have migraines because they are bitter. This pain that they carry. The mind is clouded. I can't concentrate. Even if I'm studying, I'm thinking things. It's because the mind is full. Migraine, you say, my back aches. Are we together? Together. Some people have pains on the sides of their body. Then I began to discover also that some people have pain relating to who they are angry with. Then you begin to see a pattern. So these things also follow. Hey, your mother is the one who nurtures you. The soft part of your heart. So you begin to release. You find that healing comes in your body. There was a man who was angry with the wife. He thought he had a problem. But he was passing urine all the time. Every 10 minutes in the toilet. Doctors, he forgave the wife in the deliverance session. The thing stopped. Came back the following day. After those prayers, no man, no more. They can the whole day, no more. Say no more. Trauma. They were fighting too much in the home. Traumatized. Make sure before the wedding dress, you bring yourselves for deliverance. When they say go for deliverance, they come one day before the wedding so that nangundera ntata bale umfa. No, bale turolera kuma line up, bale turolera kuri. Okay, you come when it is hot. Have you understood anything? This is a long subject, so I'm trying to compress it because it is at night. I've given you pieces, but the most important parts about healing is being honest with yourself. And those things which you cannot face alone, talk to somebody. That's why it says, confess your sins one to the other so that you can be what? Healed. It is scripture. This one is for men. That's why more men are more sick sometimes than women. Disappointment. But you find the women, they are disappointed today. Now, to my phone. Dear, let me tell you what happened. By the time they finish the lecture, now healing has come because the fault has been confessed. Now the brother is just moving. I'm strong, I'm strong, I'm strong. You need to release things. It is biblical. Are we together? Talk about things. You find that the burden is light. Hey, just tell somebody, but if we're going to away. Vietnam. Just saying that might cause you to laugh over things and heal. I'm telling you, we all don't come from perfect families. But we can heal and we can become better in Jesus' name. Amen.